You know during My Villain Academia when Dabi fought his cousin and nobody really talks about that? And that cousin of his was Geten. And of course he ain't just Dabi's cousin, he's also Fuyumi, Natsu's, and Shoto's. So Rei's side of the family, where the ice power comes from, is the Himura side. And the thing about the Himura clan was that they all were village leaders that maintained their power even after the agricultural revolution. But the thing that was the downfall of this family was the fact that they didn't want to dilute their blood because, they a little bit racist. So a lot of the people started splitting off from that main branch and becoming different branches. And since these split up branches are no longer a part of like the main super wealthy branch, that's how you end up getting situations like this where Rei's family was super poor, and that's why she agreed to marry Endeavor in the first place. So in that regard, these guys would be like half-bloods, whereas Geten would be a purebred. And what's the difference between those two? It all comes down to how they use their ice powers. Now, since Geten doesn't have any fire added on to him, his body is still succumbing to frostbite, that's why he always walks around with his North Face on. But he's also awakened his quirk in a way since he's only ice so that he doesn't have to succumb to that weakness. And the way to do that is that he no longer can just produce ice, this dude can just straight up control ice. So since he doesn't have to make ice from his body, which can give him frostbite, he can now just make ice from like the river over there by putting a lot of cold stuff in it, turn that river into ice, and now he can control that whole river. And that won't make him succumb to frostbite because it's not like coming on his body. Like in this scene right here, he puts a lot of ice into the sewer system so that he can freeze the water in the pipes and then just control the water running through all of these different streets. That's how he can like destroy a city block on his own with this ability. Whereas when it comes to someone like Shoto, he can produce ice on a greater scale without needing to do all that extra stuff. But the reason for it is he can use the fire internally to heat himself up so that he doesn't succumb to frostbite so that he can keep elevating his level of ice. Geten can't do that. And the other ice members in the Todoroki family can't do it either, which ultimately makes Todoroki the strongest person that's ever been produced by the Himura clan. And the only way that was able to happen is because the Himura clan blood in Shoto got diluted by Endeavor's blood. And since Endeavor was the dude that created Flash Fire Fist, which is said to be in the world of My Hero the apex of fire moves, meaning Flash Fire Fist is the strongest fire move that any fire user on planet Earth in the world of My Hero has ever created. Meaning through Endeavor's blood and the Himura clan, he created two people that create the hottest firepower that the world has ever seen. Keep in mind, Endeavor already had enough firepower to kill All For One because that dude did die there. That's why he had to do that Hail Mary thing and reverse himself into nothingness. Which means both of these characters had it well within their means to be able to kill All For One. Would it be an easy task? No, dude is too smart, got too many quirks. But if they landed a really good hit on him, they had the power to kill him. Honestly, they got the power to kill anybody in the world of My Hero with how strong they are. And this was only able to come about by doing the one thing the Himura clan never wanted to do. So understand that it don't matter whether you go to the mom side or the dad side of the family when it comes to Shoto and the rest of his siblings, they are both messed up. So you don't think that they're cousins even though the story has said it. And I saw the rest of your comments and you were like saying you don't even know where to find it. You wanted to be pointed toward it. Now, let me start off by saying that the story doesn't explicitly say these guys are cousins. If that's what you're looking for, you're not going to find it. But let me use this as a video to explain how you should be utilizing reading comprehension and context clues. Because the story doesn't just flat out say, these guys are cousins, but the story will give you things, and if you're paying attention to everything that it gives you, you'll be like, all right, I connected those dots and these guys are related. Let me show you. The first thing that we get is this whole scene where Endeavor meets Rei for the first time with their family. And as they're meeting here, we see Rei's father saying the Himura family was always considered prestigious with a long storied history. Okay, so now we know that Rei and her whole family is the Himura family. And then we get to this scene, which if you are only an anime watcher, you didn't see this scene, so I understand. But this scene is from chapter 387 called Congealed. And the first thing we see Geten say in this chapter is, Himura blood runs thick. And then he explains everything about the branches of family and how they, broke apart, and then that became their downfall, which is why you have other branches that are just super poor, like Rei's family. And it's getting that information, connecting the dots with what you heard earlier, which would have been maybe a year in the past as far as manga chapters go. You just have to remember more things in storytelling and you're like, oh wait, I remember that name, the Himura family, and then you would connect that back to Rei. So that's how you would use context clues to see that these two are related. So Horikoshi doesn't need the story to say that he is related to the other Todoroki siblings. We get that just through reading the story. It's just you got to take it upon yourself to connect those dots. Now, a series that's more for kids will just spell everything out for you because, they want to make sure you get everything. But writers like Horikoshi with My Hero, Oda with One Piece, Isayama with Attack on Titan. They don't give you everything, but they put the little droplets there so that if you're like me and you pay attention to each of those droplets, you're like, oh, they all connected somewhere. So the next time you're reading through a story, just make sure you pay attention to some of these little details. And if you see something that catches your eye or you're like, I kind of remember that, go back and see. You'll be surprised on what you can connect on your own. And then after you start doing that and you get better and better at it, your memory retention will start to get better too. And then as that memory retention gets better, you'll be able to read through series the way I read through series, and you can just keep the information somewhere in your mind as you go into the next thing and you can connect those dots later. And that is context clues. Hope I answered your question right.